So today we're going to work on stippling a sphere. Stippling is a series of small dots that, as you place them closer together, they create lower or darker values. So on here, I am working on stippling the core of the shadow. So the core is that kind of arched shape, and it is the darkest part of the shadow. It is actually not near the outside edge of the sphere the way that you might expect it to be. Now I'm working into some of the lower areas of the sphere where the light would actually kind of bounce off of the table and back onto the object of the sphere. Now it kind of looks the same as the actual core of the shadow, so I'm building up the core of the shadow darker. Now it's time to work toward the light. So as I'm going toward the highlight of the sphere, the white area where the light would be bouncing off of it, I'm going to be adding some middle value dots. So I want these dots to have some space between them. As of right now, none of the dots look that different from each other, but that will change as we go back into it. So you can see the core of the shadow is darker, but not as much as I would like for it to be. So I'm going to go back into the core of the shadow and the reflected light area and continue to add some dots. After that, I'm going to draw the cast shadow. So I'm just drawing the shape of the cast shadow by drawing dots along the edge of it. And I'm going to create kind of a solid line effect using dots underneath the reflected light on the cast shadow. So I'm connecting all of these dots so close together that they look like a really hard edge, like a dark line underneath the sphere. And to have a little bit of a shortcut, I'm starting to draw some long lines or some long dots. Breaking them apart, but it will still allow me to go in with dots because it's going to be so dark that it will look like the whole thing was done with dots when it's finished. And now I'm going to go into those short little lines and build up dots on top of them. So when they're done, everything overlaps and it will look like it's all done with dots all the way out to the edge of that cast shadow where it's going to be a little bit lighter than the part that's closest to the sphere. It takes so many dots, so many dots. So just keep going. Wherever you want it darker, just keep adding dots. On the background here, I chose to use a ruler. It's completely optional. I just wanted to have something that really contrasted the roundness of the sphere, so I thought some pretty straight lines done with dots would create that effect. And at the top I had started with a thick Sharpie. I didn't like the way that looked, so I switched over to a thin Sharpie after the second row. And you can see I drew in a table line, but again it was with dots, so they're just closer together so they look like a more solid line. And now I'm adding my final dots with the thin Sharpie anywhere where I felt like it wasn't quite dark enough. So this took me a total of about 12 minutes to do from beginning to end. Good luck and happy stippling!